Hello girls and boys. Welcome back to Read Me a Story. I'm Pat Kozyra, and this is my book, Tips and Tidbits for Parents and Teachers. This is for Mom and Dad to read. It will tell them all about my 50 years of teaching in the classroom, and I share with them all the things that I learned. Lots of hints and ideas that will help them to help you at home. They can get it from AmazonBooks.com. Today we're going to have fun with the book Pinocchio. And I remember having fun reading this to my grandchildren when I visited them. Max, Theo, Josephine, Charlotte, Penelope, and Simon. This story talks about how important it is to tell the truth. And I think we are glad that the same thing doesn't happen to us whenever we tell a little white lie, because Pinocchio sure had a different experience. Now, Pinocchio was a puppet made by a woodcutter. We're going to read about him. There's so many versions of Pinocchio, so many different ways of telling the story. And in many books the story is changed and endings are different. So I hope you like the version that I've chosen today to read to you. Lots of interesting things about Pinocchio. This I bought in Thailand, and it's a wonderful little toy that when you squeeze it, Pinocchio does all kinds of little tricks, and it really reminds us of how active Pinocchio was and what a busy person he was and what fun he used to have. This is a very clever idea that the people of Thailand used, and of course made of wood as well. All right, let's put Pinocchio down and let him have a rest for now, and we're going to read our story. Pinocchio. Geppetto was a very fine woodcarver. One day he made a puppet that could dance and run and talk. He named the puppet Pinocchio. Pinocchio was very naughty, and he never sat still. He was always getting into trouble. One night, Pinocchio dreamed that if he behaved well and worked hard, that he would turn into a real boy. Next day, he told Geppetto that he wanted to go to school. Geppetto sold his coat to buy Pinocchio his school books and bag. Now, Pinocchio set off for school. He had only gone a short distance when he heard a noise. A puppet show was on at the theater. Pinocchio wanted to see the show, so he sold his books to buy a ticket. The puppets in the show realized that Pinocchio was not a real boy, but a puppet, and they shouted for him to join them on the stage. Pinocchio was very happy to do so. He tried to do the tricks like an acrobat, but he only made a fool of himself, and the audience started leaving. They were not happy. The owner of the show was very angry. He decided to chop up Pinocchio for firewood. Pinocchio was frightened, and he ran away as fast as he could. He did not get very far before he met some mischievous boys. They told him that they were going to a wonderful place where they could enjoy themselves as much as they wanted. It was a land of games, toys, cakes, and candies, with no schools and studies. But they did not know that by the end of the year, all the mischievous boys changed into donkeys. Pinocchio went with them, and he had a grand time. And sure enough, he turned into a donkey. He was sold to a circus where he was taught to dance and jump through a hoop. Oh dear. Pinocchio was not a good donkey at all. He did not like working in the circus, and he always disobeyed the orders. And since he was no use at the circus, he was thrown into a river to drown. And as soon as Pinocchio sank underwater, he changed back into a puppet, and he swam safely to the shore. Back on land, he decided to go back to Geppetto, his father. And he was walking home sadly, and he met a beautiful lady with blue hair, and she told him that she was his fairy godmother, and she took him to her house. She asked him why he was so sad, and Pinocchio was too ashamed to tell the truth. So he started to make up stories. But every time he told a lie, his nose grew longer, and soon his nose was 12 inches long. That's 1 foot. He was horrified. So Pinocchio decided to tell the truth, and slowly his nose shrank back to its normal size. Pinocchio had now learned that being naughty and telling lies only got him into trouble. He made up his mind to go home and to tell the truth to Geppetto. On reaching home, Pinocchio told Geppetto all that had happened, and he promised to be a good puppet. He looked after Geppetto, he cooked for him, and he helped him in his work, and he learned his lessons. One night, Pinocchio dreamt that the good fairy with the blue hair came to visit him, and she was very happy that he had become a good puppet, and she was going to give him a reward. She waved her wand, and she whispered some magic words. When Pinocchio woke up in the morning, he was amazed. He was no longer a wooden puppet. He had become a real boy, like all other boys. He ran to Geppetto and hugged him. Now Pinocchio went to school every morning like other boys, and in the afternoon he helped Geppetto with his work, and father and son lived together happily. And that is the end. Always nice to have a great ending to a story. And aren't you glad that our noses don't grow longer like that when we tell a lie? Hope you enjoyed that, girls and boys. See you next time for Read Me a Story. Bye for now.